Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Reverend Dr. Gunyam Zorewa. Thank you. What do you say?
Thank you, SG. Greetings, esteemed journalists. We believe the old adage is true. United we stand, divided we fall. Today we are calling for unity and solidarity, especially among the opposition parties, because our goal is ultimately bringing to the people of Zimbabwe an alternative governance, a good economy, and a quality standard living. To accomplish this, to accomplish this, we proffer a different approach to opposition politics in Zimbabwe. This is a key to our success as opposition parties. Broadly speaking, there are at least three categories of opposition groups. One group is known for always contesting the election results. As we speak, they are still chasing the results of August 23, 2023. The other group is looking at the 2028 elections, hoping to repeat the same experiment over and over, expecting different results. The third group is one that calls to unite just only serious opposition parties in order to form an inclusive government. The good news is all three groups could unite and finally achieve peace, security, justice, prosperity, and happiness for all. If we begin now to build a robust movement that draws from all opposition parties as well as infiltrate Zanu PF, we will build a better Zimbabwe. We know there are many people in the ruling party who are ready to cross over for real change. SADC represents unity and solidarity. The opposition parties could also unite in solidarity for prosperity. My fellow opposition leaders, if only we can put aside our ideological differences and unite, this will happen. Just look at South Africa and perceive where the winds of change are driving the region. We welcome this upcoming SADC summit because it is absolutely crucial for our regional and our respective national developments. Some SADC's objectives are unfolding every day in our region. The opposition parties are not the enemy of the state. Rather, we are the best critics of government insofar as we offer constructive criticism and even offer to assist with the projects and the programs where government is failing. For example, private schools are mushrooming everywhere in order to make education affordable and available. Hence, the opposition parties will collectively request special time to meet with any heads of state who are willing to listen to Zimbabwe's aspiring national leadership candidates. We hope the incoming chair, President Emmerson Mnangagwa, will facilitate this since he is the host. The purpose of such a meeting, if granted, is for Zimbabwe's future government to acquaint itself with the core values and objectives of SADC, which were created in 1980 by our fathers. We believe that holding SADC summits is in rotation is an important tradition worth respecting, preserving, and passing on to our posterity. Consequently, visionary opposition leaders will not allow SADC to be reduced to a mere organization that promotes individual political innuendos at the expense of tangible national issues like economic development, poverty eradication, adequate housing, the preservation of human rights, climatic change, technological innovations, affordable health care and education systems, to mention a few. Also, visionary opposition leaders believe they are their brother's keeper. So, we will not allow member nations to be used as the pawns of the Western or Eastern powers. These superpowers often seek to further their own nests at the expense of member states. It is common knowledge that these superpowers come to Africa to extract mineral resources under the guise of humanitarian services. Because SADC leaders are aware of this, our common agenda in response to this is to consolidate, defend, maintain democracy, peace, security, and stability in the region. However, we do not believe that it is SADC's mandate to dictate policies to member nations. In fact, SADC's mission is clearly delineated, quote, to promote sustainable and equitable economic growth and socio-economic development through efficient, productive systems, deeper cooperation and integration, good governance, and durable peace and security, end of quote. All this is done within adequate democratic space, tolerance, dignity, and respect. So we say, welcome SADC. The opposition parties who are seriously fighting for practice of democratic principles, national unity, peace, and security in Zimbabwe will demonstrate maturity before, during, and after the SADC summit. We applaud the fact that our heads of state are convening for the purpose of building prosperous nations by sharing technological innovations in Southern Africa. Their agenda entails to achieve economic development, to have peace and security, to alleviate poverty, to enhance the standard and quality of living in Southern Africa. A noble agenda indeed. Zimbabwe's visionary leadership will not be detracted from these objectives or be manipulated by certain agents who benefit from chaos, confusion, and personal political illusions at every plebiscite. The opposition parties who are serious about bringing change will utilize the presence of SADC to seek wisdom rather than display immaturity by conniving in negativity and acts of demagoguery. Throughout the press conferences that we have held, we have humbly repeated that it's our turn to host the summit. Visionary and progressive opposition leaders will seek dialogue with the visiting heads of government rather than seek opportunities to divide our nation, undermine government, and seek personal favors from foreign nations. To date, we continue to reject the opposition mindset which asked the West to impose sanctions on Zimbabwe. In no uncertain terms, SADC has condemned such political mediocrity. So SADC actually set a date of October 25th each year to be in special solidarity with Zimbabwe over the illegal sanctions imposed upon us. Thank you, SADC. Opposition parties who are united should now be demanding the lift of all sanctions on Zimbabwe in order to allow SADC's vision to materialize. If the Americans and the European Union claim to be humanitarian democratic bloc, they should be in solidarity with the SADC's objectives. One great all-time American diplomat, Henry Kissinger, once said, "America is friends to all, enemy to none." Does this still hold? What we know is Africa welcomes friends from the East and from the West, not enemies. But we will not befriend agents of colonialism or their proxies and looters. SADC leaders have a regional obligation to protect our national resources for our posterity. In our community of democratic nations, it is more logical for the big brother to protect and preserve rather than punish and impoverish. The name of the game ought to be nurturing, guidance, camaraderie, and a community. Zimbabwe is looking to re-engage the international community. Friends to all, enemy to none. It is such a philosophy which we should always uphold if we expect to be participants in the global community. As I conclude, I repeat, the value of this year's SADC summit should go down in history as the moment where the Zimbabwe opposition parties united to craft the national agenda and strategies to revolutionize the state of politics in Zimbabwe. This will materialize through the proven method of dialogue. It is time for the Revolutionary Party and all the opposition parties to master the usefulness of pragmatic dialogue. Thanks to this year's SADC summit, and thank you all for coming.
Thank you, President Zorewa. It's now time for some questions. And today we are going to take as many as we can.
Oh.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Okay, my name is Kudai from Technic TV. Rev, I heard you respond referring to Zimbabwe as being a nation under sanctions. But a couple of months ago, the US actually clarified that position, and they said that they had removed the sanctions which were targeting Zimbabwe, but they had only imposed the sanctions on certain individuals. Why are you, as an opposition leader, calling for those sanctions to be removed when the US is simply saying that these sanctions are meant to ensure that there is democracy in Zimbabwe, to ensure that those who are under sanctions are held accountable for corruption and human rights violation? Why are you not calling them out rather than speaking against those sanctions?
I think I know what you're talking about. The one thing that you ought to be concerned about, my friend, is that if sanctions were imposed only on the president of this nation, don't you see that is an insult? If an enemy comes to your house and he hits your father and you all look and say, okay, go ahead. You don't do that. So sanctions that are imposed on the president of this nation is an insult. So they have to just stop that language of imposing sanctions on the head of a state. It's the person that we elected to be president he's not supposed to bow to anybody. He's the head of the state. It's better for them to just say no sanctions in Zimbabwe, period. And we ask them, we never ask for them anyway. So, but right now as opposition, I know that when I become the president, I don't want to inherit that kind of situation where I am targeted as the enemy of the world because of my behavior. I think your question is very good. I know that they've released everybody, including yet unborn children, and some people who have already died, like Mugabe, and so on. They are released from that. But they are targeting at the head of this state. That is an insult. That is my issue with the whole idea of sanctions, sir. Does that help your question? Yeah, if you want to pursue, you can. You may.
All right. Right. We've noted with great concern that the government has cracked down on dissenting voice. But in your speech, you didn't refer to that. What is your position regarding the human rights violation currently taking place in the country? We saw what happened with Jacob Garivume and Namatai Kwekweza. You as an opposition leader, what is your comment on that?
My comment on all these human rights activities in this country is that is not acceptable. It's unacceptable, it's un-African to dehumanize people who are born and created in the image of any other human being. There's no excuse for human rights abuse in this country or in any country. That is my response as opposition, okay? To refer specifically to this incident or that incident, for example, we all know the situation of Mr. Sikhala, for example. He was there without trial for over a year. That is just unacceptable. Okay? It's unacceptable. There's no two ways about that. No one would ever defend that, even in court. I don't know how the courts deal with stuff like that, but I know one thing, that human rights abuse is one weakness of this country that we hope to correct when we get it. So, by the way, when I talk of I'm talking of a situation where we're going to have inclusive government, so that whichever party is in or has some power can share with others and they can get some wisdom from others. Inclusive government is very rich because it brings all the brains of the nation together to form government. The reason we have been like this for the last 43 years is because there was just one government. If it was inclusive, there would be something else, something better, I can tell you that.
Next. Yes, Mr. Chuma.
My question is not all about the speech that you read, but it concerns the national things that we are having right now. We celebrated 2 national events a few days ago, but I didn't see any opposition political party leader and their supporters attending to those national events. Why did you do that?
Yeah, I'm glad you are saying that. It's not in my speech today, but I like that very much because I have been concerned about, I'm sorry to talk about the former president, Mugabe. When Zanu PF got in power in 1980, they planted a very wrong mentality to say that only the ruling party celebrates independence. That is wrong. There are national events and there are political events, there are social events, there are church events, but independence is for everyone. But you know, the practice has been, it was only for Zanu PF. So that is still trickling, that mentality is still trickling in. Some people don't go to celebrate independence on April 18 because they say it's not for us. If you are Zimbabwean, and Zimbabwe became independent in 1980, it's for you. But because there was a mindset set by Robert Mugabe, people still think that they're waiting for independence celebration when the UNC is in power. When we are in power, everybody is invited because it's for everybody. Thank you.
Were you, sorry before that, were you bad for attending, or it's just your mindset that you should not attend?
On April 18th, I was at Murambinda. I attended the independence because I believe that is national. The other things that you are referring to, I was not here. I was outside the country for the last couple of weeks. But I cannot be barred by anybody. If it is Zanu PF meeting, I don't go there, and they don't have to bar me because I don't go there in the first place. But if it is a funeral of a Zimbabwean, for example, a general is being buried, I'm free to go there because we are supposed to mourn each other, mourn families, mourn when there's a death in the family and so on. So the point that I want to repeat, Mr. Chuma, is that this country, we think we are free. We are not yet free until there is leadership like me, because I believe that freedom means every Zimbabwean is now finally a right to be a Zimbabwean, to enjoy life, even to have a different opinion. But we have leadership that says, if you have a different opinion, you are an enemy of the state. That's not acceptable. I don't do that. And I don't endorse that. Okay. Yes, sir. Yeah, sorry.
Yes, you can go ahead.
As a politician, do you think Zimbabwe should be hosting the SADC summit given the situation that is currently prevailing in the country, whereby we have a deepening crisis in as far as human rights violations are concerned?
Yeah, the fact that we are hosting SADC here is not because we have a good president or bad president. It's because it's our turn as a nation to host. Then it's up to the people who participate in that meeting, in that summit, to talk about who is best to lead them. But as far as I know, this is a routine thing that was set a long time in 1980, that nations will take turns to host. It would be unfortunate for Zimbabwe to refuse to host SADC. I've just read the good things that SADC brings to the nation, to the region. So for us to refuse to host that is irresponsible, in my opinion. So we are here, SADC is coming here. That's why I said 2 times, I said, welcome SADC. They are coming here because SADC is a good institution. It's a good arrangement in the region. It's a way for people really to work together as a region. We hear of European Union. We hear of Africa Union. We hear of SADC. So then you say we have nothing to do with that because somebody lost the election. No, that doesn't make any sense. So for me, this is our turn, and we should do our very best as a nation. This is why actually I'm inviting all opposition parties to be part of this summit, because the summit is intended to, the summit shows that we are taking turns to serve our region. We are taking turns to host our region. Now, listen, my friend, if I'm going to give you a lousy example. It doesn't matter my Chimuti is a witch. If there's a death in her family, we go there. We even eat there. So when it's a turn, when it's our turn, it's out of responsibility for us to take our turn, host all these 16 nations, 15 plus us, 16. We cannot say, don't come here because our laundry is not clean. No.
So are you saying we should prioritize the SADC summit over the freedom of others who were arrested without just cause? Because as things stand, there have been calls for people to boycott the SADC summit, in protest over the continued incarceration of opposition activists who were arrested on Trump-dark charges.
When you say trumped up charges, I guess you know what you're talking about, because I don't know what the charges were. But I know one thing, that when there is an event like SADC coming, the government becomes nervous about people's behavior, okay? So they begin to, you have seen the roads are now good. Thanks to SADC, the roads are good. But are you saying, no, take off those roads because we are not, the government here is not good? No, we are going to enjoy good roads. But we know for sure that they were fixed because SADC was coming. You get my point? The roads were fixed because SADC is coming. You cannot say to show the outsiders that that's how we live. You don't do that. That's not how we behave anyway. Think of a family. Visitors are coming, you show your very best. You put your best foot forward. You don't say, when you are you cannot say that. That's just disorder. So I'm sorry, I'm not a head of state, but I am a very concerned opposition leader who wants to see us at our very best. This is why I'm asking actually opposition parties to get together and actually make a request to approach SADC so that we can talk to them. They are coming here. Let's take advantage of that. You want to talk to the SADC heads, talk to them, and we share with them what we want. So if we go out in the streets and the SADC heads are here, so what kind of a discussion are we going to have? I want to take advantage of the presence of SADC because we are the future government of this country, and therefore we got to show our very best. We got to do our very best. Okay? So that's how I look at the presence of... Now, you are bringing in the idea that some people are imprisoned and they are not tried, and this is unfair and so forth. I'm saying all that is part of the laundry in the House. But the big picture is that SADC is coming here, and the SADC is coming here because it's our turn. Not because they are coming to endorse what is happening here. They are coming here because it is our turn to host SADC. Does that make sense, my friend? I mean, you have to separate issues. At least that's what I do.
Okay, no more questions, huh? So I think this brings us to the end of our press conference. Thank you very much, members of the media. Thank you, sir.
Welcome.